Okay, in the last video I showed you how to prepare a development space and how the Hello World Many Params plugin works. In the meantime, I did change a little bit. I did rename, prepare a new space which is called Post Tagger Video, because this one can stay after I finish the videos, and the Post Tagger plugins will really be used for the plugins. The Post Tagger plugins now contain the libraries, but only the libraries. Okay, so you don't need this one anymore, and the libraries are included here. So this is the development space now. So it has the development environment and the Post Tagger plugins with it. Okay, now let's create a Post Tagger plugin and just change the Hello World plugin into Post Tagger plugin. Give it the new name. The description will be done afterwards. Documentation will be to do. The usage is almost the same, so but it has a different name. Post Tagger. Okay, this is the one without any parameters, so which should just work with the initialization parameters. And there is the one which has a button, a tooltip, and several parameters. There is a title parameter, which can be any name. All these parameters are optional. The section, which default is input, but I can use an optional one, let's say other input. Copy. So that it works, we need an input section. This is some text, and the other input is a longer text. Okay, Post Tagger. The extension needs to be renamed Post Tagger plugin, and the macro needs to be renamed into Post Tagger. All the other stuff is the same, but now the parameters are different, and this is the only thing that is really important. You need to change this input array for the parameter scanning. So we don't need the text param. We do have a button, we do have a tooltip, we want the title and a section, because only those parameters are scanned. The defaults need to be changed too, because we only have the section parameter which needs to be defined, because if there is a function call like this, the input needs to work, so input should be the default. The tiddler is done automatically within the handler afterwards. So the any function, just strip it down a little bit. We only need to output it once, and that's it. Save it. Post Tagger doesn't work because we need to reload. It does load. Okay, Post Tagger section is input, and the output is defined here. So there is a configuration output which is place. So that's why we get some object information here. Then if we click it, we have the hello world section other input, which is this one, the button click me, some tooltip text, and tiddler is any name. So the basic functionality just works. Now let's replace the click function or the any function with the real working script from the post tagger. Okay, I will need this one afterwards. Oops. Okay. Tap. So as I said already, the tiddler will be done by the program. So the macro has a look with store defined containing tiddler, which tiddler name it actually is, and it needs to be part of the config so that it is transferred to the button config tiddler is defined. Okay, then we need some changings of the variables here. So there is an error message. The delimiter is section only at the moment, and we need to get a store from config tiddler plus delimiter plus config section. Puff. And we need not place but config output. So it is rendered there, config output inner. Let's test it. Save F5 for reload. Post tagger. We have the input. The input is there. The click me. Oops, the click function doesn't work yet. F11. F12. Child is 0. Yeah, because we have any name and the any name tiddler is not defined. So we just do remove the tiddler. So it does something, and this is the longer text. Okay, but what we don't want is that the button is removed, so this has to be done, and also we want to have a real error message. In this case, the tiddler any name, we didn't see it, it just didn't do anything. So to speed things up a little bit, I did prepare a post tagger plugin, which has a little bit more functionality. It still does remove the functions, It still does remove the buttons, but there are three examples, and some better text if the tilde is not found, and an end. There is also some information that I want to show you. For example, there are different uh, revisions. So I can select, if I want to know what's the difference between the actual version, I can select it, and then I can compare it. I wanted to show it to you so that you can see it, and there you get the overview. The red is deleted and green is changed, so you can see there is some little functions. This doesn't look that nice, so we say side by side view, and here we can see exactly what's the difference between the two versions. There is not a big version, a big difference, but a little bit. So that's the basics. I want to show you how to create a plugin if you have a prototype which is just a script. It isn't that difficult. It needs a little bit of testing and a little bit of learning, and you will need the Firebug extension or the developers console. So have fun.